Welcome back, everybody. My name is Poison Ducky, and we're going to have the show-off between the undead factions, the Vampire Coast and the Vampire Counts. Now, let me go into the introduction of the armies. I'm going to go for a little army subversion here, as a lot of people would say. I'm going to go for more of a rush build. So I'm going to have 3 units of the normal terrible zombie pirate deckhand mobs. Not very powerful, really don't do much other than die and hold the line, which they do quite well, admittedly. But that's why I only took 3 of them. Now, interspersed between the lines are going to be the zombie pirate gunnery mobs. Now, these units can actually fire while on the move, and this unit is dirt cheap. I believe it's only like 300 funds, or maybe 400. I'll have to recheck on that. But this is one of the cheapest ranged options for how much actual damage they do. With the missile damage of 18, specifically when they have the extra powder buff, they're very good. They may have low range, but that's why you incorporate them into a rush build. They're not really meant to be used in like a long skirmish gun line per se, but they're just super good at just adding pressure at a mid-range while still moving forward with the rest of your army. Now, in the back line here, I'm going to have 4 units of halberds, just basic, good, just in case they have anti-large, decent zombie unit, really cost-effective against anything that's usually going to attack the back line. And what makes this little army special here is I'm going to bring 3 units of animated hulks. Now, this unit isn't the most cost-efficient or even the best unit in terms of fighting infantry, even though this is an anti-infantry and armor-piercing unit, as this unit only has, 35 armor. It's not fantastic. The weapon strike's all right. They're just like worse Croxagors, essentially. But they'd get the job done against infantry. And another interesting pick, I've gone full-on rush, is 2 units of sirens. Now, their enthralling attacks, they decrease the enemy's melee attack, quite useful, and they're ethereal, so unless they have magical damage, these will take a beating before they go down. And of course, my Regiment of Renown, I'm going to bring the Night Terrors. They have so much better stats than normal Mournghouls. Unfortunately, they do rampage, but they cause terror, while normal Mournghouls do not cause terror. And look, this is one of the scariest units in the game. Now, my general is just going to be Silastra Diderfiend on her Mighty Crab, and I just really like the lore of the deep in general. And just look at this, just giant monsters, a crab with a ship as a shell, all these little undead creatures, is just with zombies hurling forward. It's such a cinematic little fight. Now, over here, my opponent is going to be bringing Manfred von Karstein, an undead dragon, a powerhouse in his own right. Lore vampires is so good. It's just like there's, in my opinion, probably one of the best lores in the game. And his front line is going to be mainly just some skeleton warriors, cheap stuff, some Graveguard in the back line, and some Crypt Ghouls. High damage unit with poison attacks. Very good against zombies. The Graveguard are armored, so they'll do well, and they don't have armor piercing, but you don't need too much armor piercing against zombies. And on the far flanks, he's going to have 2 units of Direwolves for the backline pressure, just in case I went for a whole full gun build, and a unit of Vargeists. And he's going to have 2 direwolves on this side, but instead of a unit of Vargeist, he's going to have the Blood Knights, one of the best cavalry in the game, if not the best pound for pound. So, with the armies introduced, let's get into this battle. Now, I'm going to be advancing as fast as possible, because I am the rush. I chose this kind of play style, and zombies do not have a very fast movement speed, so all my monsters and stuff are going to actually catch up to the army faster. And I kept them in formation. If you guys don't know, if you hold Alt and select your whole army and move them forward, you can they stay in the same formation in which they were deployed. It's going to be a slow creep as my quote-unquote monster mash rush build moves forward, and the sirens, look at this. You don't get to see this unit very often, but it's fun. By the way, back then, my opponent is actually playing really passively. He's not moving forward until just about now, but notice how my opponent is being very smart here. Moving his cavalry, he's going to do like a semi-surround. Make sure his cavalry make it into not his cavalry, his backline pressure in general is in around my army and can focus down my few ranged units. Now the problem here is that my ranged units are just not important. The zombie pirate gummy mob, while they are very bad, they will get murdered by just about everything. If they get I lose them, it's not too much of an investment. In fact, they're cheaper than the dire wolves that they're going to be fighting. So over here, as you can see, my opponent's going to go in. He's going to send in the dire wolves to try to pressure my gun line, and I'm just going to make sure I get nice little shots. So, like, the zombie gunmen, they do their job. Now my animal hulks, the front line clashes, and it's going to be a fight of zombies along with animated hulks supporting. Now, animated hulks are just about the only way they are effective is when they're mixed in with other infantry to support. And this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to have, well, this group's a little more isolated, but let's go over here. Animated hulks with zombies and sirens, just about the best way to clobber some cheap infantry in terms of using this unit. I'm still looking to fix that. I'm not sure exactly why. Over here, my opponent does send in the Vargeist to mess with my backline, but I do have my halberds to just deal with that. And he's, oh god, there's so much backline pressure from my opponent. This is a good play on him. He's going to take out a lot of my zombie gunnery mobs. Like, this one's pressured, this one's already breaking, this one is pressured. I'm trying to catch up, but he just has too much mobility, and zombies are not fast by any means. And of course, here comes the mighty cycle charging of the Blood Knights. Now, fortunately for me, he runs straight past the unit of pole arms and essentially is going to get squished and not quite hammer and anvil, but squished between a crab and some halberds. Now, Salastra is going to get into this, and look at this. The amazing thing of this spell here, the spell I'm using, is called... Oh, I didn't use it yet. But it's going to be called Curse, Mist of the... Where is it going? I'll use it when I want to show this Vangeist Revenge. And that deals pretty much all the HP damage of the remaining Graveguard and Crypt Ghouls. Now back to Celestra Darphine. She has this spell called Fog of the Damned. And it decreases leadership, which is nice, but the main power is minus 26 melee attack to units around her. And it'll be used right here, and I love it. The effect happens as a little skull appears, and now everybody in this little circle essentially cannot hit what they want to hit. Very powerful, and this is combined with the ability called Song of Enthrallment that only Silostra has, which decreases melee attack by another 26. You look at Manfred von Karstein's melee attack, it's actually 0. So everything in this little grouped bunch of enemy units, which is a lot of units, essentially has the lowest possible chance of hitting my units. A very powerful combination. And oh god, there goes the summoned Bretonnian Knights that Celestra can bring. But overall, it's become just a monster mosh pit, with me only having just a few units on the outskirts, some sirens, some halberds to deal with them. Sirens are doing well against the skeletons, I would hope. 43 kills, they're doing well. And it's, at this point, it's the crab. The crab did so much damage sitting here. Oh, my... Look at this Vargeist Revenge. My opponent does spot this and try to get out of the way, but there's just too much stuff. And that's going to deal a devastating blow to the Blood Knights. Already at about 15% health left, the Vargeist do begin to crumble and disintegrate, and everything I win this little monster mash quite handily. And that pushes the balance of power back into my favor. Now, it's not over yet, as Manfred von Karstein is still in the battlefield, and we could see a Wind of Death. We can see all sorts of magic that can destroy this AoE clump. And see, he's going to use a breath attack. Very powerful against sirens and such. Oh, God. And that almost starts to crumble them. And I go for another Song of Enthrallment as he goes back into engage. Reducing that melee attack is so important in reducing the casualties of your armies. And it's the battle between the crab and the dragon at this point. such a pretty game. I really enjoy it. I think Salasha is such a overlooked character. I love how she is. If you want to go for monster rushes, I believe Salasha is the choice. While Count Noctis on a Necrophist Colossus is quite nice, at least for range army comps. I really enjoy like the rush pirate build. That I love like how Vampire Coast can bring so many different playstyles in such a diverse roster. And with that, I believe the enemy army is going to start to crumble. The only thing left is Manfred von Karstein and some Vargeist. But the Vargeist, they don't do very well against Sirens, as they only do physical damage, and Sirens are just, they cause terror. They just, well, of course they don't. Undead counts don't get affected by terror, but, and they're ethereal. They just don't take much damage from physical, and Manfred is just swamped at this point. You can even see my animated Hulks getting in there, clubbing them with their anchors as arms. That's just an odd model. It's such a cool thing. If only they were buffed in stats just a little bit, I think it would be such a fantastic thing. A few zombie summons in here to try to hold the pack. Ah, the Blood Knights are back at low health, but they are back, and at this point the balance of power puts in my favor a little bit too far, and it goes, I don't believe the enemy has a chance of coming back. I'm going to use another Fog of the Damned, reduce that melee attack for everybody, and I believe that starts the disintegrating. Goodbye, Manfred von Karstein. That was a good game. I really enjoyed it when undead fight each other. As you know, it's a fight until everybody's gone. Alright, let's see here. Silashra was amazing, getting 199 kills. Zombie Pirate Mob did decent, 44, 37, 28, and of course the polearms did well, killing those dire wolves, not what. And one unit of Sirens actually did so much, 80 kills, 42 over here. Well, the gunnery mobs did get compromised relatively quickly. They did some decent HP damage towards the Grave Guards and Crypt Ghouls, which are nice. And I liked the choice of animated Hulks. While I could have, if I just chose normal Mournguls instead of animated Hulks, I would bet they were probably more effective. It's a fun unit that's not seen very often, and that's why I wanted to try them out, see why they're not picked very often, and see if they can be used in a matchup against that only has infantry and monsters. Overall, I liked what my opponent did too, Manfred von Karstein. It was very obvious, though, that my opponent was built to take out a ranged composition. He was expecting handgunners, he was expecting maybe deck gunners, some cannons, possibly Queen Bess. He was not equipped for a monster mash. And that's what's so fun about this multiplayer, the multiplayer scene of Total War. I like how you have to like second guess the kind of build your opponent does. Either that, or you build a very balanced build that can deal with most situations. And I like the back and forth of, do I just full on commit, try to full counter and guess what kind of build he's going, or do I just make a very balanced build? And that's the fun of the game. Well, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe if you want more. I'll catch you guys later.